NTV.
Good afternoon and welcome to NTV at ONE. My name is Dan Mwang and we begin in the capital, and frustrations and threats to my life were the main reasons that led to my resignation. These are the words of Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi as she announced her resignation this morning. Deputy Speaker John Kamango will now occupy the Speaker's seat in an acting capacity until a new Speaker is elected. Our senior current affairs reporter Seth Olale expounds. Seth, how are things now? We know the place had been cordoned. What's the situation now at City Hall?
The situation is still tense here outside Nairobi County Assembly, Dan Mwangi. And remember that since 6 a.m., police have cordoned off operations inside the county assembly. And this is why, because of that particular event that happened early in the morning at dawn. We're talking about the historic resignation of Beatrice Elachi as Speaker. And I just want to walk you through the entrance of this particular county assembly, which is under tight security since morning. Even the county, the MCAs, the ward representatives are not being allowed to enter at this particular point for today. And this is because of, they're saying that they just want to make sure that the chaotic scenes that were witnessed on July 27th do not reoccur. And so they're saying that this particular place is strictly cordoned off. They're not allowing even some of the county assembly staff to gain access. Only those essential are being allowed access. This has been the situation. The policemen you're seeing here, they just represent hundreds and dozens of those who've been here, that have camped here since 5 a.m. in the morning just to make sure that the handover ceremony go on as planned. But even to get a clear picture of what happened here at 7 a.m. when Beatrice Elachi announced her resignation and handed over the instruments of power to her deputy, this is what went down. Listen in.
Elachi's 6 a.m. arrival at the Nairobi County Assembly caught most of the staff at the main chambers unawares. So confidential was her surprise entry that even the security officers who had camped at City Hall overnight didn't know the occasion. The Speaker walked straight to her office, where she was shortly joined by her deputy, John Kamango, and few senior county staff. After about half an hour, journalists who had been camping outside the Speaker's office were allowed in under police escort. The embattled Speaker then made this announcement.
I want to humbly tender my resignation to His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and for continuity of the institution, I appoint my deputy pursuant to the law and the new act, the Honorable Speaker John Kamango, who is the Deputy Speaker, to take over as the acting Speaker and also the Chairperson of the Nairobi County Service Board as the Assembly prepares to recruit a new Speaker.
What I can tell Nairobians is that I am ready to occupy the position of the acting Speaker, and I assure them that things will roll as expected.
The besieged outgoing Speaker, who took over as Speaker at the Nairobi County Assembly in 2017, cited frustrations and threats to her life as some of the reasons why she opted to leave City Hall.
It was going to be a very terrible time at that time. We had sulfuric acid, we had so many crude weapons that day, if it was not for the security team, somebody would have lost life.
Elachi's resignation comes at a time Governor Mike Sonko, who is barred from accessing his official office due to an ongoing corruption case against him, is embroiled in a leadership wrangle with Nairobi Metropolitan Services boss Mohamed Badi. Elachi's leadership has been marred by chaos and wrangles, and being kicked out of the assembly in September 2018 with just 1 year in office. Her dramatic impeachment had ugly scenes and confrontations with members of the county assembly allied to Governor Mike Sonko. The courts later reinstated her.
Thank you, Nairobians, for praying for me. Thank you, my staff. Thank you, the whole staff. We leave when we have transformed, and I hope we will not have confusion. And I just want to ask the security team, I leave you with a team that I have named here, and please support the team.
From October 2019, she's been serving as Speaker, but again fell out with MCAs allied to Sonko, leading to renewed calls for her impeachment. Late last month, there was violent confrontation at City Hall when a group of MCAs forced their way into her office to serve her with a notice of impeachment.
Well, sources close to some of the Jubilee MCAs say that there will be a high-profile meeting tomorrow that will be on Wednesday. But like I said, this particular place at City Hall is cordoned off. I'm right outside the office of the governor here at City Hall. And like I said, that the policemen, some of them arrived here as early as 4 a.m. just to make sure that the handing over ceremony and that event that happened at 7 a.m. where you saw Beatrice Elachi handing over to her deputy take place. It is because there was security enforced at this particular place just to make sure that we don't have any opposition, or rather the event organizers don't, confront any opposition that would have transpired. They just wanted to avoid dramatic scenes that were witnessed last month. But this is not all. Remember, Dan Mwangi and our viewers who are watching us live from all over the world, that the CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, did indicate, or rather did hint, that there will be some major and crucial changes as far as the leadership of Nairobi County Assembly is concerned and county government as a whole. And he did say that there have been numerous criminal activities happening here at the Nairobi CBD where City Hall is located, and he did say that at least up to 14 MCAs have had their firearms withdrawn and their licenses revoked. And this is just part of the cleaning up exercise being done by the national government. You will recall that also Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko had to enter into that deal with the national government to, just surrender some of the authority under his command. We're talking about some of the services, and especially those ones to do with licensing and transportation, being handed over to the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. But there has been a back and forth confrontation between MCAs allied to Mike Sonko and those allied to NMS director, that is Mohamed Badi. But it is going to be interesting to see in the coming days how this particular issue that unfolded here this morning will be taken. But what we know is that we have sources indicating that Jubilee MCAs for Nairobi County will be having a meeting tomorrow just to deliberate on the way forward. It will also be interesting to see how those maybe allied to Governor Mike Sonko will take this particular action. And of course, for our detailed report, it's going to come on later in a subsequent bulletin. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Solale, for giving us an update on what's really hot in the capital, where Beatrice Elachi said she can't beat them, so she's chosen to beat it and just leave. And we shall be getting more information and analysis on the same and what it means and the different dynamics of the same politically and in terms of governance. Now, still in the capital, and with the Senate's committee set to sit down this afternoon to address the stalemate on revenue sharing, leaders from different parts of the country have expressed their opinions on how the standoff should be resolved. Nyeri Town MP Ngunjiri Wambogo has urged the senators to look for a win-win situation and put Wanjiko's needs before anything else.
We have numbers that were done by the census last year, and those numbers should determine how money is allocated. We can't have a situation where from 2009 or for the last 7 years, we have allocated money according to numbers. And then now, when numbers have actually been authenticated, we are insisting that no, numbers should not count anymore. For the last 7 years since 2013, revenue was allocated according to numbers. Some numbers that had been disputed, even in court. But because they served the purposes of certain people then, it was okay. Now numbers have been fixed, numbers have been authenticated, and people are all of a sudden saying, no, do not allocate money according to population. I think we need to come back to the point of a win-win situation means every region gets what is due to them.
And so we'll be keeping an eye on that, and Vincent Odwor is following up on the same in regards to what the Senate is going to, what the Senate committee is going to bring forth. Hopefully there'll be some white smoke, but we've been seeing divisions, and we shall see whether they shall carry on or whether we'll have Wanjiko's pertinent issues carry the day. Now, last night, Ouko Okusa gave us a brilliant feature on RIP to the death industry, and today he's on a different story. And the officer commanding Boya Police Station in Kisumu County is among 5 law enforcers appearing before Chief Magistrate Peter Gesora, arraigned for allegedly stealing alcohol from a lorry that was involved in an accident along the Kisumu-Nairobi highway. William Cheruiyot, alongside Jane Chepkemoi, Bernard Masharia, Samuel Maina, and Roderick Lauchet were arrested by DCI detectives in Nyando sub-county. Now we're joined by Ouko Okusa live. Ouko, we are now moving away from the death stories to a bit of highness. What is the situation there?
Well done. As you've just mentioned, the 5 accused persons have just appeared before the Chief Magistrate, that is Peter Gesora, just like 15 minutes ago, and all of them have pleaded not guilty to the charge, which is stealing alcoholic drinks, assorted alcoholic drinks belonging to London distillers, after a lorry that was ferrying the drinks was involved in an accident along the Kisumu-Nairobi highway. That was on 10th of August. And the OCS, that is William Cheruiyot, faced another charge of being found with stolen goods. That is, according to the charge, is that he was caught with 72 cartons of vodka white pearl spirit in his house, and therefore he faced another a charge. That is a second charge. All of them, as I've mentioned, they are pleaded not guilty, and the magistrate has released them on a bond of 300,000 shillings each. And the mention of the case has been set for August 27th, and thereafter on 15th of September, the hearing will be heard here at the Kisumu Law Courts. Done. And besides that, also maybe just want to bring to our viewers' attention is that 2 prosecutors here at the Kisumu Law Courts have tested COVID-19 positive, and therefore the fate of the court sessions here in Kisumu is still not known. We'll be getting more updates regarding that in the coming hours. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Okusa, and that's some good insight, and take care as well as you're at the courts there. And just to revisit a bit, Okusa, just to check with you, as far as the cops go, has the alcohol been seized? Do we have any of the footage of that, or how are we yet to visit the scene to know the situation?
Oh, well done. As I've mentioned, we got this information this morning, and we are yet to go to the scene that is in Ahero, where the supposed accident had occurred somewhere called Boya. So we are yet to visit that particular scene and get those pictures. In the morning when we woke up, we were made to understand that the accused were being brought to Kisumu. So we had to camp here, pitch tent here at the law courts, just to get our viewers those pictures of the accused being appearing before the Chief Magistrate Court here in Kisumu. So from here, maybe we'll go down there and try to find more about where the particular alcohol. We are told that there are assorted brands of alcoholic drinks that were allegedly stolen by the officers. So we'll be getting those pictures after this. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Okusa. Okusa giving us a story of how some police officers might be taking care of alcohol, but they choose to take care of their own interests, allegedly. Thank you very much, Okusa. And now we come back to the capital, and like we said, the senators are meeting to try and unlock the deadlock on the revenue sharing formula and what the way forward is. And like I mentioned, Vincent Odwor is on that story and now joins us live to give us an idea of what the situation is as at the moment and what to expect. Vincent?
Absolutely, we are expecting a stormy session this afternoon as senators will be fighting it out on the floor of the House to decide how they are going to share the 316.5 billion shillings to the 47 counties. You know, these will be coming after the mediation committee approach meticulously flopped after one side or one faction that is being led by Elgeyo Marakwet, Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, failed to submit the names of their members so that the committee can be formed. And therefore, this thing has had now to go to the House. And therefore, this afternoon, the two factions, Faction 1 is led by Kipchumba Murkomen, that is supporting counties that are losing out on the new formula. And the other one that is being led by Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kangata, that is supporting the government-backed formula. And therefore, the two sides today are going to square it out on the floor of the House to decide now, moving forward, which formula are they going to use to share or to allocate the monies to the counties. Remember, what is happening is that after the faction that is supporting those counties that are losing out refused to engage the other side in any negotiation or mediation, they decided to come up with some amendments that were triggered by Meru Senator Mithika Linturi. And these amendments or proposals were submitted yesterday to the office of the clerk of the Senate, and therefore the amendments will also be tabled in the House. And therefore what will happen today, after debating, members are expected, especially the 47 elected members, senators, are expected to vote on which way forward. And therefore, if they are going to vote and adopt the amendments brought by Linturi, then that is going to carry the day. And therefore, the voting process is what we are waiting to see today, to see how it is going to end. Remember, every faction or each faction is saying they have the numbers to decide on the way forward. And therefore, this is a matter to wait and see. Remember, the Speaker has been very frustrated. The Speaker of the Senate, Ken Lusaka, has been very frustrated because their move to try and ensure they have a consensus so that each and every member is happy on which formula is going to be used flop. And therefore, today, they're going to vote. Remember, this formula that has been, or these amendments that have been proposed by Linturi, it says that they want at least 270 billion shillings to be shared equally to all the 47 counties, and then the remaining balance from the 316.5 billion shillings be shared to all the counties based on a number of indexes, you know, like the population index, the poverty level, land area, and also by looking at the status of a number of sectors in these counties, like the health or agriculture. And these are the things that they are proposing to be used to share the remaining balance to the other counties. But remember, if you go with the formula that is backed by the government, that was brought forth by the Committee on Finance after being proposed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation, you will realize that out of the 47 counties, 29 counties will be gaining on the new formula, while 18 counties will be losing on the new formula. And that is something that has deeply divided the senators, whereby they're arguing that there has to be a formula whereby you don't remove some monies from other counties, especially those that are marginalized, and then you add up to other counties that have been well off for some time. And therefore, that is what caused the division. And today, after a number of efforts for mediation failed, negotiation failed, and therefore today, it's going to be decided on a vote count. And therefore, we are waiting for this session that is likely, or it's going to begin at 2:30 p.m. Today on the floor of the Senate to see the way forward. Because remember, governors have been complaining that this ongoing stalemate has been hurting the counties because a number of them have been unable to fund some of their essential services that they are expected to deliver to the residents of the counties. And they are saying, especially coming at this time amidst COVID-19, they're saying they're lacking funds to even fund some of the initiatives that were put up or that were established to combat the spread of the virus in the counties. And therefore, governors will be waiting to see what is going to transpire today and to see whether really this stalemate that is starving counties of resources is going to end. And therefore, remember also there are also political undertones on this because remember others feel that President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga have something to do with what is happening, or they are supposed to do something to end the stalemate. As even you look at some of the counties that are losing out people, when you look at the activists, some of them you realize have been supporting the ODM leader for quite a while. Others that are gaining, much of them, people argue some from the regions that have been supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, this is something that is also taking a political angle. Because whether you like it or not, when it comes to sharing of resources, it is a political process. Because even the House that is mandated to appropriate funds that are being used in the counties or even by the national government to the citizens, it has to be appropriated by the National Assembly or Parliament. And therefore, this is basically also a political process that you can't, divorce it from the political process and also argue about only the economic part of it. And therefore, that is it for now. And we'll bring you the session live at 2:30. We see what will happen. For now, I'm taking you back to studio.
Thank you very much, Vincent Odor, for giving us that update in regards to what to expect this afternoon. And definitely everybody is going to be having their eyes on the Senate, and let's see whether there'll be an agreement or whether it'll be another postponement of a final decision, and what the repercussions are in regards to counties getting their monies, and that means the services to the people of Kenya may be slowed down or delayed. Now let's move to a coastal county, and top government officials this Tuesday are expected to tour Tsavo National Park to assess the damage behind a fire that razed the park for 2 days straight. Kenya Wildlife Service had blamed arsonists for deliberately causing the fire. Hundreds of local volunteers and the military took part in putting out the flames. A meeting bringing together all stakeholders in the area is underway to find a lasting solution on the perennial fire outbreaks at the park. Tsavo is home to hundreds of animals such as lions, elephants and buffaloes, just to name a few. It is usually visited by thousands of local and international tourists. And just a small update on that Tsavo story. And currently the meeting we mentioned is ongoing. And there we have the PS Fred Sigor, a KWS Managing Director, that's John Waweru, the Coast Regional Commissioner, that's John Elugata. And there are a group of 28 ranches in Tsavo Conservation Area, and the numerous fire has lasted for 3 months, and they are saying that they have experienced more fires in the month of August, and more to that the Tsavo Conservation Area is 22,000 kilometers square. And aside from that, now Fred Sigor, the PS, has said that the ranch owners should carefully supervise their tenants, and that is the hardest, to be specific. And the police boss of the region, that's John Elugata, says that the bigger part of the park is burnt, and there's a lot more that has been said and is being said as we speak. And we shall be giving you the full story later on. Our reporter Bill Otieno is updating us as we go, and we shall be getting the information in the course of the day. Now, security officers have called upon residents of Kajiado County to return stolen livestock in seeking to end the ongoing clashes along the county's border with Kiambu at Ndeya. Kiambu Police Commander Ali Nuno says residents of Ndeya have also agreed to return cows that had been stolen as a retaliation after armed youth raided their village. Nuno said with the help of village elders that they have recovered 54 of 72 cows, and they are planning to hand them over to the Kajiado residents. Kajiado residents have also recovered 44 of 81 cows and 37 of 67 sheep, which they had stolen from Karera village in Ndeya. The conflict arose from cattle rustling carried out by two communities along the border that has been going on for a year now.
Owing to the tensions that exist, these are issues that can be mitigated after tomorrow's meeting. So we do not want to rush to make arrests, because it will only escalate the situation. And tomorrow we have a very high-profile meeting, which will be attended by the governors and the regional team and the county security committee teams. I intend to hand over these animals after we receive what was stolen from outside.
And also an update on the same, that was yesterday, and now today we have the governors of Kiambu and Kajiado meeting alongside elders. They had said there'll be 20 elders from each county, and they were also meant to have the Rift Valley regional coordinators as well as the central regional coordinator. They're meeting at Bomas of Kenya. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. this morning, and we shall be giving you the outcome, and hopefully we'll have a peace deal to avoid any further conflict, injury or loss of life. Now, speaking of loss of life, one person has died so far, and thousands have been rendered homeless after Lake Baringo and Bogoria burst their banks as a result of heavy rainfall. Residents living on the shores of both lakes are appealing for assistance to mitigate the effects of the rising waters. Anita Nkonge reports.
As far as the eyes can see, what would show houses, business establishments, and even livestock submerged. One has to stay afloat to get around. Over 4,000 residents have been displaced from the swelling of Lake Baringo and Bogoria. A General Service Unit officer was swept away by floods on Sunday night in Tiati Sub-County, Baringo County, as he was trying to cross the flooded Chipleke River.
We need a long-term solution, and actually we need also the national government to come on board.
The rising levels have so far taken a life and left a trail of destruction of roads, schools and hospitals nearby, putting residents at risk of contracting waterborne diseases and hunger.
Ile gharama ambayo wewe ulikuwa umechenga nyumba yako, ulikuwa umechenga nyumba ambayo imekamilika, na saa hizi wewe sasa unatakana uame katika mahali hapo.
Sasa tujue governor, tuko na governor aina gani? Yeye hapa watu wamekaa kwa giza, na tunasikia huko juu anasema sijui anaanzisha nini, na hakuna mtu yote anamtambua hapa, hakuna atusaidii kitu yote hapa.
Additionally, tourism has been affected as various hotels in the area have been submerged. The landmark Soy Safari Lodge playing host to volumes of water instead of visitors.
Currently we are almost 40%.
The encroachment of rising lake water has also brought forth the danger of encountering wildlife that also seek the fresh water.
Hii insecurities Baringo ni lake sasa. Tuko na shida na watoto wadogo kwa crocodile. Saizi maji iko kwa door to door.
The county and national governments have moved in to construct alternative roads in the areas affected. The Kenya National Highway Authority has constructed a diversion at Loruk to help motorists who frequent the Marigat-Chemolingot Highway. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
We hope the best for the people of Baringo, and that the government, national and county as well, would take the necessary measures to ensure that the people are kept safe. We take a short break on NTV at 1. We'll be back in just a short while.
Introducing Dovu Home Baking Flour and Dovu Maize Meal, now in an attractive new packaging. Dovu flours are fortified with vitamins and minerals to provide wholesome goodness for the whole family. Milled from a blend of the finest wheat, Dovu all-purpose flour makes the most delicious chapatis, mandazis and all other pastries. Dovu is readily available at your nearest shop. Dovu Tosha.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
In the vast green Kiambu County, surrounded by luscious coffee plantations, flowing natural rivers, and alluring dams, sits the beautiful Zaria village, with every amenity desired for a home carefully considered. The village comprises of a perimeter wall, a kindergarten, a commercial center, and a clubhouse. There are 4 approved architectural house concepts, styled to accommodate your ideal dream home. Indulge your senses and relive your childhood desires, where you can be free, be bold, and be at home. Call us on 0729 121212, where you should dream it, own it, live it.
Welcome back to NTV at 1. Now, 31 fish ponds, a hatchery and a training center sitting on an 11-acre piece of land at Muitoko in Emuhaya, Vihiga County, has brought fish farming to the fore in the rural region, largely known as subsistence farming. The project was set up at a cost of 32.6 million shillings to turn around what idle land that sits on the wetland.
Launched 1 year ago, Muitoko Aquaculture and Training Center is a beehive of activities, having produced 22,000 fingerlings so far to over 1,200 fish farmers in the county. According to officials, the farm has a capacity of producing 5 million fingerlings annually. The farm produces tilapia and catfish through artificial propagation, with the former being attractive to the market.
It's also an aquaculture training center where we train farmers on aquaculture practices, the best aquaculture practices. We have 31 ponds.
Kupitia kwa hiyo samaki tumecreate ajira kwa vijana. Kwa hizo vitu fish bond hizo tumeajiri watoto kama watu kama 10 vibarua ambao wanapata shilingi 5,000.
Munala says the fingerlings produced using modern technology are of high quality and are fast growing. So far, there are 1,500 fish ponds owned by farmers across the county, producing 1.5 million fish against a market demand of over 3 million fish annually. Vihiga Governor Wilberforce Ochilo says his administration is committed to a blue economy, following the recommendations that were made during the first international conference on blue economy last year.
Over 30 million Kenya shillings in this program, and we see that the prospect of getting dividend out of this investment is very high, and particularly we are now creating jobs for our youth.
Helen Aura, NTV.
Tourism Cabinet Secretary, that's Najib Balala, has called on scientists at the Kenya Wildlife Service to research whether there is a correlation between the spread of COVID-19 and the rise in the trade of game meat. Balala spoke at the inauguration of the Wildlife Research Institute Board. Suspicions are rife that trade in game meat by poachers is accelerating the spread of COVID-19. The CS also revealed that KWS is in the process of forming a wildlife corridor from the Nairobi National Park to the Athi Kapiti Plains. 47,000 acres have been donated by individuals and institutions towards the success of that initiative.
We needed a corridor opened up in Athi River and Kitengela area. And unfortunately, we left it when people have already developed. So I've appointed a task force led by Helen Gishohi. Helen Gishohi with a small team will look at how would it be possible to have that corridor. And I've involved also KWS and as well as Nairobi, Friends of Nairobi National Parks.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. These are words of a famous song from the Lion King movie. But did you know that soon there might be no lion sleeping in the jungle at all? As Wild Lions Day was celebrated on Monday, conservationists want to draw your attention to the threat of extinction that African lions are living under, as data shows rapidly shrinking populations. How can the lions be saved? Ruth Samway explains.
A study by the World Animal Protection indicates that the population of lions is steadily decreasing in the wild, with the king of the jungle already wiped out in some parts of Africa. The International Union for Conservation of Nature says Africa's lion population has declined from 200,000 in the last century to about 20,000 that exist in 26 African countries, which is a 90% decrease. This reality is also being felt at home.
Sadly, study reports indicate that lions face a danger of extinction in the next 20 years. The Kenya Wildlife Service indicates that the country is losing 100 lions per year, while the current population is barely above 2,000.
Researchers blame the extinction of lion on human encroachment and poaching to satisfy the traditional medicine industry. The majestic cat is exposed to horrid death in the hands of poachers. It is said that you don't have to defend a lion. All you have to do is let loose and watch it defend itself. But Kenya is insisting on defending the lion, and just this week launched the second phase of the lion recovery strategy to pull the cats back from the edge of extinction.
We have 2,489 lions that have been counted in the country. And yes, despite we have many challenges sometimes with lions and hyenas, but we cannot take the law in our hands by poisoning or killing these animals.
The East African community, aware of the imminent threat, has put in place measures that promote conservation and sustainable utilization of wildlife.
EAC has also developed a strategy to combat poaching and illegal trade in wildlife and wildlife products. Before the strategy, poachers and other criminals would commit a wildlife crime in one country and on being pursued would simply cross the border to the neighboring country.
Of the remaining lion population in Africa, 80% are found in Eastern and Southern Africa. Despite having no predators, their population has dropped by 43% in the past 21 years, and a 50% fall is expected in the next 20 years if no action is taken to keep the lion at the top of the food chain. Ruth Sarmui, NTV, Nakuru.
And so my producer Zainab Bonati says I was meant to sing the first line of that song from the Lion King movie, so I don't sing. So I'll let you. This is it. Well, if I was to sing, the lion would not sleep. So let's just leave it at that. You can enjoy the video on YouTube or get the movie yourself. Now let's go into international news, and salvage crews are racing against time to prevent a second disastrous oil spill off the picture-perfect coastline of Mauritius, with a damaged tanker carrying thousands of tons of fuel at risk of splitting apart. People have gathered to help contain the initial oil spill that is threatening the island's ecosystem. More than 1,000 tons of fuel has already seeped from the bulk carrier MV Wakashio into the ocean on the southeastern side of Mauritius. The vessel's damaged tanker, carrying nearly 2,000 tons of fuel, is at risk of splitting apart. MV Wakashio ran aground on the 25th of July with 4,000 tons of fuel aboard and began sipping oil last week, I beg your pardon, staining coral reefs, mangrove forests, and tranquil lagoons in an unprecedented environmental catastrophe for the archipelago nation. We take another short break on NTV at 1. We still have more news, including the sports news, coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
This is NTV.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Parenting is all about learning when to be tough and when to be gentle. Tough, gentle. But when it comes to fever, you need to be both. Panadol Baby and Infant starts to work on fever in 15 minutes and is gentle on the tummy. Tough call. Panadol Baby and Infant. Tough on fever, gentle on your child.
Here at NMG, we are working very hard to ensure your favorite publications, Daily Nation, Business Daily, Taifa Leo, and the East African are readily available. In a bid to support the efforts to prevent the transmission of COVID-19, NMG has ensured our staff, our distributors, and their staff adhere to set guidelines. At our printing plant, all staff are required to wash their hands before entering the factory and must be wearing a mask. All workers either change their clothes on entering the factory or wear an overcoat. We are keeping doors open to avoid our staff touching door handles repeatedly. With our automated printing, contact with the newspaper is kept to a minimum, and at the packing process, the staff observe social distancing. Vehicles used to transport the newspapers are disinfected daily before the newspapers are loaded, and our delivery staff all wear masks and wash their hands regularly. Our vendors ensure that they sanitize every time they handle money and wear their masks at all times. NMG is proud to be able to safely meet your information needs. Stay safe, stay informed with our favorite NMG publications.
Wazazi wangu wafanyi kazi saa hii, mimi ndio breadwinner kwa familia.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, going to school gave children a safe and supportive learning environment and access to free meals.
Kitambo ilikuwa tuna feed 400, lakini sasa ikaenda 1000.
Tukaona tukuje huko kwa church tukue kupata chakula breakfast.
Wengine wazazi wao walipoteza kazi, wengine hawana chochote cha kupatia hawa watoto.
Saa zingine anaenda pale kwa shosho hapo, anachukua mkoko, aenda chote maji ndio hao wapate lunch.
The pandemic has already left too many children hungry in the informal settlements.
I have a well-paying job, my friend. I have a job.
Hii hapa ni Mercury na inauzwa 50,000.
My son is going to Harvard. I need him to take his SATs.
We can use this to get him ready as we reschedule for him.
Look here, madam. My son was born ready.
This is yours. Let's just try. Let's write your name. Good.
Hii ni Mercury. Inatumia kutengeneza mpaka nini? Rocket.
What you have there is glycerin. Plus mercury is not used for that purpose, my friend.
This is NTV.
Welcome back to NTV at One. My name is Dan Mwangi, and the members of National Assembly's Committee on Environment and Natural Resources are touring the various estates on Gong Road Forest to assess the situation in regards to the petition on the demolition of houses and repossession of land in Langata. Anita Nkonga is following the story, and the MPs and now joins us with a live update. Anita, what so far has happened? How many places have been visited, and what is the sense of the feeling there? What will be joining Anita in just a bit. We seem to be having a bit of not technical issues, but network issues, but we shall be getting back to her. I don't know, Anita, can you hear me? What is the latest from where you are at? All right, we'll be getting an update from Anita in the course of the day, and definitely in our bulletins later on in the day. Now to sports, and Manchester United needed an extra time penalty from Bruno Fernandes to finally see off a spirited FC Copenhagen and advance to the Europa League semi-finals. United, who won this competition 4 seasons ago, will now face either Premier League rivals Wolves or Europa League specialist Sevilla, who face off tonight in the last 4 of Dusseldorf on Sunday night. In the other on August 24th, following 5 months detention in Paraguay over a forged passport. The former Barcelona star was detained alongside his brother on March 6th, accused of entering Paraguay in possession of false passports. They spent a month behind bars before paying a $1.6 million bail and being released to house arrest at a plush hotel in the historic center of the Paraguayan capital. A date of August 24th has been set to hear the case against the brothers. Quite an unfortunate situation there. On form, David Evans bounced back to claim the top division title in August mug at the Par 72 Vet Lab Sports Club course. The event attracted a field of 170 players, including 12 professionals. Evans saw off handicap 12 Tom Chirchir by one shot. Youngster Tsavo was third on net 72, playing off handicap 5 down at the coast. Long hitter Charles Robb fired net 71 to claim the A division side title at the Par 71 Nyali Golf and Country Club course, where former Mombasa Golf Club chairman Peter Kimanga was second on net 72. All right, now from sports, we come back to a bit of environment, and I'm told that we have Anita Nkonge back, where she's following the MPs, that's the National Assembly's Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, which is touring various estates on Gong Road Forest. And Anita, what's happening right now? What's the sense of the discussions going on as the MPs look at the different issues there?
Well, Dan, the fight for living spaces and green spaces continues. As the MPs were touring the various estates in Gong Road Forest, many of the residents were pleading with them to come up with a negotiation where they can, find a middle ground. Some of the parents say that they've invested a lot of their pensions into some of these homes, and that demolishing them would be devastating. Now, you'll remember that the CS for Environment, Keriako Tobigo, had earlier stated that he would categorically continue to fight against the repossession of illegal land. Now, there's 132 acres that is at stake here, with the various estates that we, as I've already said, toured. We are waiting to hear from the members of the National Assembly for Departmental Committee for Natural Resources and Environment on what they have to say following the tour. And obviously I'll tell you this more in our subsequent bulletins, but for now, back to you, Dan.
Who is, like you see there, in Gong Road Forest, and following up this issue, and like she said, coming after a feature she done on the fight for green spaces, where, especially in this time of the pandemic, people are saying that they need, rather experts have advised that there's need for a lot of the green spaces for people to just go and relax and have some quiet and peaceful time as they, deal with the motions of the pandemic and what it has brought upon us. And that's what we have for you on NTV at 1 today. Thank you for joining us. Have yourself a great afternoon and great evening. Definitely we'll have a lot more news for you when it comes to the primetime bulletin, 7 p.m. on NTV Gioni and 9 p.m. on NTV Tonight. And definitely everything in between, we shall be having the presser by the Ministry of Health in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic update. And we shall be looking at what questions need to be asked. If you feel there are questions you need us to ask, tweet us on @NTV Kenya, and we shall see how we can pick up some of those questions and put them to the government. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dan Mwangi. Have yourselves a great afternoon. Oh, sorry. I'm told that I've nearly killed a funeral story, which is quite wrong. And we are going to be leaving you with this story that by Oko Kusa, which I had spoken about earlier on, and where it's about pompous processions, fanfare, grandeur, and feasting, which are among common scenes witnessed during funeral ceremonies in Western Kenya region. But all this splendor comes at a price, huge costs that are largely borne by the bereaved. In this special report, Ouko Kusa takes an in-depth look at how the COVID-19 pandemic has killed what was a thriving sector, which on the flip side has impoverished thousands of families in the region. Here is RIP Death Industry, and I leave you with it. Good afternoon.
It bears the look, sounds, and feel of a state funeral. The state of this funeral would have you make that assumption, but it is important to state, if you thought as much, you are wrong, but you will be forgiven without much hassle. And again, if you mistake this for a state banquet, copious amounts of pardon could be served to you. In the western and Nyanza parts of Kenya, death and glamour walk side by side in an interesting juxtaposition of the twins by association. Red carpets, magnificent caskets, meticulously decorated dome tents replete with colorful dressed chairs, powerful public address systems, drone cameras, customized branded t-shirts, glossy funeral programs, portable toilets, fancy multi-course meals, and it will be an injustice not to mention high-class hospitality.
for digestion.
These are the sights and sounds of flamboyance. Luos call it nyadi, and this cocktail of show and concomitant might is a congruous manifestation of what has been christened the death industry.
They arrange it in a cycle, in a plate. The moment you see these rolled chapatis in funerals, you know saliva starts rolling out of your mouth.
The cost of burying the dead in this region, particularly amongst the Luo community, burying one dead roughly is about 4 million. And that figure, if you tabulate it annually, it turns into billions.
Kuna watu wanahaya even tent ya 1500. Mimi nishalipwa kuhaya dome tent. Nishapewa contract nipeane hiyo tent. Unahaya hiyo tent lori na nini na nini na nini. Ukiangalia 700,000 imeenda. Hii 700,000 inaweza fanya nini? A number of things.
Within the death industry, there are a number of players who include catering service providers, hired or professional mourners, the church, bouncers who ordinarily double up as pall bearers, videographers and photographers, hearse service providers, and coffin makers.
Those subsectors in the death industry have been thriving on the miseries of the bereaved.
Final send-offs are important and highly guarded and regarded among the Luo and Luya communities, and the different activities and rituals that make up the season between the final breath and the laying of the final wreath are sacrosanct. Ordinarily, when someone passes away, a series of events follow. First, a close relative with priority given to a woman alerts the neighbors of the death through screams and wails. If the deceased is a married man, his wife does it. If an unmarried person, their mother is meant to alert the people. When a married woman passes on, her husband is the notifier. If she dies in town, the husband is tasked to travel up country to make the wailed announcement, what is loosely referred to in the Luo as teroiwak. Once the announcement is made, mourners begin to stream in, and the feeding begins. A funeral committee to plan the final journey is set up, comprising the deceased family members, relatives, and friends. The committee draws a funeral budget under the family's guidance. A fundraiser is arranged and the bereaved family is tasked with various responsibilities, such as constructing a house for the deceased in case he didn't have any at home, provide a certain number of animals for slaughter, in addition to their contribution towards the budget.
Sasa being that alikuwa bwana ama mume, marafiki zake ama ndugu zake wanaona sahi wacha tumtengenezee nyumba, si eti wanatengenezea kwa sababu marafiki wake ama colleagues wake watakuja.
These expectations are considered compulsory, despite being not as comfortable at a time where comfort in huge doses is direly desired.
The death industry has impoverished so many bereaved people in this region.
Pengine unaweza kupata kwa boma, watoto wameachiliwa, baba ameaga na iko hata ng'ombe moja. Sasa hiyo ng'ombe itabidi muuze, alafu watu wanabaki bila kitu.
Na hii ng'ombe utapata ako na mtoto afaa ingia ajoin hata shule. Hiyo ng'ombe ikiuzwa inasafanya mtoto ajoin hata kama ni day school. Sasa kitambo watu walikuwa nafanya wenye wamepata msiba wanakuwa maskini zaidi.
These are some of the circumstances that are creating a conviction contrary to culture, the conviction that the now termed corona burials are working for the greater good as they are shielding and saving many families, communities, and the region at large.
If such protocols burying the dead at low cost can continue even post-COVID, This will help to cushion the impoverishment of the bereaved in this region.
Unapata mtu anakufa, only thing family wanatafuta, mkishapata burial permit, ni coffin na transport. Mkifika nyumbani, mnazika. Hakuna kukula hapo, hakuna kukaa hapo. So ile ng'ombe yenye wangechinja, utauza tu, peleke na mtoto shule.
Once somebody is dead, the next thing one must think of is burial. Kuchimba kaburi na kuweka maiti ndani ya kaburi na kurudisha mchanga, that is burial. I don't need food for that.
Hata gharama sahihi ya kusanya pesa, kuita watu kwa harambee imepungua. Mambo ya WhatsApp group, ati mtu anakuambia amekuadi kwa group ingine amepata shida, sahihi hakuna. Sasa ningependa kushauri watu wetu ili tukae katika maisha ambayo tuko nayo sasa, tusibadilishe hii maisha.
And these sentiments are increasingly being echoed and appreciated despite the friction of going against the grain. Ken Ogada's family has already tasted the new norm, which they say did not leave a bad taste in their mouths, despite being against what they have always known. In July, the Ogadas buried 2 of their mothers in the span of 1 week. Both burials were conducted in accordance with the government protocols.
Gharama ilikuwa kidogo, ni mortuary bill, sanduku na hasi ya kubeba maiti, na chakula kidogo tu wale marafiki walitoka mbali wenye walipata nafasi ya kuja.
This was in clear-cut contrast to last year when the family was laying another relative to rest.
Tulipoteza mamangu mkubwa na tulitumia pesa mingi sana, almost $500,000 kutayarisha mazishi yake. Baadaye hata kuna kitu sisi tulibaki nayo kama wenye walifiwa.
There are sighs of relief born of the new norm, but there are cries of grief as some beneficiaries of the death industry are in mourning.
Wengi wetu tulikuwa tunafanya matanga pia. Hizo ni kazi ambayo tulikuwa tunafanya. Sasa hii matanga, mtu akikufa anazikwa baada ya 2 days amezikwa. Na kwa matanga watu wengi hawatakikani. So kukula pia haiko.
COVID-19 struck and unceremoniously laid some livelihoods into caskets, and the containment measures served as pallbearers for those whose lives have been supported by the death industry. In this catering business, for instance, Oduor is among more than 60 individuals who were put out of employment as a result of the pandemic.
Hakuna vile tunaweza kula, hakuna vile tunasaidia kwa kulipa nyumba. Kwa mfano kama mimi pia nilipa nyumba mwisho 18th March, hadi leo sijalipa nyumba. Sasa tulikuwa naomba serikali vile nasaidia wengine, si pia tukue considered kama wengine.
Inside these stores, canvas tents, plastic chairs, and dining tables worth millions of shillings sit, gathering dust and rusting away in an atmosphere reeking of lifelessness, just like the situations that offered them a platform to provide commercial value.
Tents tuko nayo karibu 100, ambao kutengeneza tent moja inagharimia shilingi 100,000 tent moja, na ziko zaidi ya zinatoshea 100. Viti ukinunua kiti moja ile ya quality mzuri moja ni 700 bob, na tuko na viti 3,000 pia zimelala chini. So ukipiga moja ni hasara kubwa yenye tunaenda.
While the businesses' hands appear tied, the people in whom the culture has been instilled will not let the ropes of their wrists stop them. Many are insistent on doing things in the pre-pandemic way, more so where the deceased was a public figure. The friction between Luo culture and COVID-19 containment has played out in the past weeks, where various popular musicians from the region have passed away. The mourners who decided to honor and send off their beloved artist in the way they know best were not taking no for an answer. On Thursday, June 11th, popular Ohangla musician Bernard Onyango, commonly known as Abenija Chiga, passed away and was buried at night in Kisumu County. The artist's final send-off was a theater of drama. The Ohangla musician's fans sealed off a grave dug at the home to bury him, saying it was unthinkable to bury him in such a haste, in scenes where culture overruled containment of the pandemic.
Let us kunyo, leave us to kunyo, and tomorrow tutazika kesho.
Hatutakubali mwenzetu azikwe hivyo kama hatujamwona, hatujatoa rambirambi zetu kama familia na marafiki, hatujawekewa banyimbo zake tukatike. Tuko na uchungu mwingi sana. We are very sad. That is not right. It is not in order. What is the meaning of that? Yes.
Another sea of mourners from the lakeside was witnessed in Migori County at the burial of another Ohangla musician, Maureen Achieng, popularly known as Lady Maureen. What was meant to be an orderly occasion turned chaotic. Mourners donning Gor Mahia Football Club branded attire took over and ran the show, and in so doing, risked scoring an own goal in the COVID-19 war arena. The unrelenting crowd overpowered the contingent of cops and escorted the corpse carrying casket to the grave, with social distancing being a distant concert. They always say that behavior takes 21 days to form, that whenever people discover that the new way of doing things is better, simpler, and less burdensome, they will abandon the old habits. Well, whether that phrase will live on after the pandemic is a story for another day. Ouko Kusa, NTV, Kisumu.